Manchester United are reportedly the favorites for Jadon Sancho, which means Chelsea needs a plan B. And according to the Daily Star, that plan B, 27-year-old Mexican Jesus Corona, or as Craig calls him in the barrio, Tecatito. Okay, Tecatito plays for Porto in his 5th season with Porto. 2 goals, 17 assists across all competitions. This year he's played in 41 matches.
I thought I ate some of those last night.
You drank them. You drank them.
I drank them.
Herc, I'll start with you. We've seen him play at a bunch of different levels, international and club. He's been at Porto for a while. Like I mentioned, his 5th season. Is he good enough not just for the Premier League, but for Big Six Premier League?
Oh, man, that is so difficult to say because, first of all, he's a fantastic player. He's young. He's brash. He's very exciting on the ball in the final third. He takes risks. He's a joy to watch. But is he ready for that big jump to a Big Six in the Premier League or to a big club around the world? I don't know, and I'll use this as an example. How many times have we seen great Portuguese player, a player who plays very well in the Portuguese league, who makes that jump, and it doesn't translate? We saw it with Raúl Jiménez at first. We saw it with Héctor Herrera to Atletico. We saw it with Jackson Martinez, who came out of Porto as well, to Atletico. These players where it just doesn't translate. I think he's a very good player. But what are you saying? He's going to go to Chelsea right now and he's going to play, in that winger position? Because right now he's playing as a wing back and he's still kind of learning the position. And yes, he's getting the assist, but there are moments where tactically he's not up to speed with the way a game should be played defensively. So I'd like to say yes, because I've seen what he can do on the ball. But until he gets there and proves it, it's just an unknown.
Craig, what's going on at Chelsea? Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, Willian, Pedro. They pre-signed Ziyech from Ajax, Christian Pulisic, just to name a few. Why is there such a search for more wingers?
Well, I think it's paper talk. I think if you probably sat Frank Lampard down, he would scratch his head and say, well, I think we're looking at other positions, as I've said to you before, for the reasons that you just mentioned. They've got quite a few, and most of them young, up-and-coming players with plenty of talent. And look, if you want to look at him and say, is he going to play potentially as a wing-back? Yeah, and Frank Lampard did do that on the odd occasion last year, primarily to get Alonso on the left side because he was better as a wing-back than as a full-back. But then if he plays a back four most of the time, he's covered down that right side. He's got Cesar Azpilicueta, who was the club captain, and is very versatile, can play left-back, right-back, and can play as a centre-back in the back three. And then you've got a young lad in Reece James who did very, very well for Chelsea last year, coming in down that right-hand side. Big and powerful, loves to get forward, is learning the game, was very good in the final third with balls into the box. And then all the wingers that you just mentioned. So I really don't see this as a goer. I mean, I would see them trying to push the ball out for Jadon Sancho just because they could take another winger if they were getting one of the best up-and-coming players in European football. But I think Man United will outprice them on that one, and I don't think Chelsea will push the boat out for another wide player in the region of 100 million. I think they need an out-and-out striker more than that. And for all those reasons, I really think this would be a head-scratcher for Frank Lampard if you brought it up at a press conference.
Herc, we got to look at it. If he were to move to Chelsea, he would be in direct competition for playing time with Christian Pulisic. One's younger, one's older. One's a little bit more experienced in Europe in terms of big games, and that's Tecatito. Who are you taking in one season?
I'm sorry, did you say Tecatito is more experienced in big games than
Porto? Porto doesn't play Champions League. Porto doesn't get to Champions League.
Did Christian Pulisic not play Champions League?
Ah, come on. You want the numbers?
Give me the numbers then. What I'm trying to tell you is he's just as experienced at a younger age. By the way, he was $75 million transfer, and Tecatito Corona's release clause is about $30 million. Tecatito Corona is 27 years old. Christian Pulisic's what, 21? I think you're going about this all wrong. Yes, anybody who comes in is direct competition for Christian Pulisic, but I don't see Christian Pulisic losing any sleep over Tecatito Corona.
Do you see Tecatito Corona then playing as a right back? Because Azpilicueta, as Craig said, is the captain. There's no other spot for him really in Chelsea.
No.
He wouldn't get into this team, would he?
I don't like Tecatito Corona as a right back. I like a little structure in my team. I think he's very adventurous in the way he plays. And listen, when you go offensively, you have to be. You have to be able to spring that pass like we've seen him, right or left, but you have to be able to take guys on. But you can't forget about your responsibilities. And in a league like the Premier League, in a league where you're going to have to fight, claw, where it's very physical, I don't know if he has the physicality to really play in that league. I don't know if that's a league for Tecatito Corona. I'd almost rather see him in La Liga or even a Bundesliga, something more of that caliber. I don't think Tecatito Corona can play as an outside back or a wing back in the Premier League.
Craig, real quick, back to Christian Pulisic. They've pre-signed Ziyech since they brought him in. They've obviously been linked to every winger, it would seem, including Jadon Sancho. We've heard what Don Hutchison has said about what the technical staff thinks about Christian Pulisic. We've heard it on ESPN FC. Do you think Chelsea is convinced of Christian Pulisic yet?
I think they like him a lot, and I've seen glimpses. But I think ultimately, you know, they'd want to see him over a full season. At the end of the day, they've paid a lot of money for him. You know, they've paid. Frank Lampard didn't pay the money for him. It was the board that paid the money for him. Frank Lampard inherited him. But I think Lampard himself gave the player ample opportunities after a slow start. And I think he saw glimpses of what Pulisic can do. You know, what would you think if Jadon Sancho was to come in, who, you know, knocked him out the team at Dortmund? That's a different matter. But I think that's a long way down the road. As I say, there are other suitors for Jadon Sancho. And as I said before, listen, I think Pulisic will play a big part for Chelsea next season, but he will have competition for places. And if Lampard's Chelsea are going to challenge, and that's a big if, going to challenge Liverpool and City amongst others, they're going to have a deep squad because the other two do have that. And that's something as a player, you've got to take that on the chin, and you've got to rise to the occasion that you're going to have. If you have a couple of bad games, you just might be out the team, rather than, oh, I know I'm going to be in the team next week, no matter how I play. That's not going to happen if you're in the top 3 or 4 in the Premier League or any other big league around Europe and the world for that matter.
Herc, you agree? Is this just life at a big club, or should we look into the fact that Chelsea continues to look for players in Christian Pulisic's position?
Life at a big club. I'll throw out some names. And I know it's very different times, and financially, you know, everything has changed, but you have Lukaku, you have Salah, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, you've got Higuain, who have all made some sort of, you know, stop at Chelsea, and that's it. You're gone. If you can't produce in that season or that half season or whatever the time they give you, it's on to the next. This is life at a big club. If I'm Christian Pulisic, I don't get comfortable at all. I have to fight for everything.
There you go. Somehow we ended up talking Christian Pulisic in a segment about Jesus Tecatito Corona.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.